You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the longest-running Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
We're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking to Merkel. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1.
Hello, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Tuesday, September the 23rd. I'm your host, Michael Leva, joined by Josh Moser of WSVN7, South Florida's #1 news station. Josh, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. Kind of more pumped on these Canes than these Dolphins, but hopefully this is the week.
Yeah, this might be the week for the Dolphins. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But the Hurricanes right now, ranked #2 in the country, I believe. They got a big game with Florida State in a couple weeks. Honestly, after the Florida State game, their schedule becomes Cupcake City. So if they take care of Florida State, they're going to cruise in the ACC championship game. Even if they lose, they're probably still going to make the playoffs. That's really all that matters. So the Hurricanes off to a fast start. Our Dolphins, not so much.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, though, as always, this show is brought to you by Caneswear. Everyone go to Caneswear.com. Whether it's stuff for the Miami Hurricanes or stuff for the Dolphins, Caneswear.com will have you covered. They got the best and most affordable Miami Dolphins apparel on the internet. If you're in South Florida, stop by their shop at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. If you need a Miami Dolphins jersey, hat, hoodie, jacket, or anything for the Hurricanes or anything for your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, the Heat, the Marlins, Caneswear.com has you covered. Again, before you go to any other websites online, Caneswear.com should be the first site you go to. They got the best stuff at the best prices. Also, let's also talk about the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page run by the great Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page and Dolphins Talk Extra. Here's why it's a great time to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. I know some people, when we're 0-3, things aren't looking great, you're like, I don't want to hear about the Dolphins, but kind of like you guys, sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. We do extra podcasts, sometimes not about the Dolphins. I'll talk about movies, college football. Josh and Aaron do shows talking about food. We have, podcasts about non-topics of the Dolphins. We have access to a private message board. We have great contests and prizes. We have happy hour shows where we'll just have a show and you can hop on the air with us live and you can vent or talk about any topic you want in the world. It's patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. It's only $3 a month. And, it's a lot of fun to get your mind off the Dolphins while still keeping one toe dipped in the water with the Dolphins. And if you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. All right, Josh, we're 0-3.
Yeah.
This ain't good, as they like to say. As the kids say, this ain't good. At 0-3.
God.
On one hand, last week versus the Bills, they probably played their best game of the year. They had a few stops. They forced some punts. Offense, we'll talk about in a second. But, as a team, I think it was their best game. And they still came up short versus a team that might be the best team in the league, too. So we have to factor it in. But then it's year 4 for the head coach, year 6 for the quarterback. There's no moral victories, and they lost. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. It's just what are some of your thoughts there as they sit 0-3 heading into week 4 against the Jets?
I think if they would have played like that in the first 2 weeks, they would have been 2-1.
I think so, too.
I think you beat both teams. I know the Colts are 3-0, and they look really, really good right now. Daniel Jones, again, surprise city. But to me, it's just the self-inflicted wounds. And even watching this game, a couple plays that really stick out to me, obviously the 2 interception, which we'll get into, but Zach Sealer, a captain running into the kicker. Jordan Brooks, captain, making, the silly mistake on the sack that was, after the play, gives him a first down basically on the goal line. These are mental mistakes. I love that you want to finish a play, and I love the effort, but these mental mistakes against a good team by your captains, you just can't make those mistakes. These little things add up, and you're looking for your big players to be at their best in these big moments. I can only imagine how Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill really feel about Tua's play, because Tua's play has not been commiserate of his salary, certainly through the first 3 weeks. There's obviously time to improve. But at the same time, like we've talked about it, like this is year 4 of Mike McDaniel's system. I understand you're 1-7 against Buffalo. We're talking about Tua. You haven't won there in 8 years, but these are the games that you're supposed to win if you are who you say you are. And look, no one gave him a chance. It was a lot closer than the 10 points it ended up being. But right now, this team's got Waller coming back, making his debut, which, hopefully can give them a little bit of a lift, but I don't know how much. And this team's built on this offense. I understand the right side of the offensive line is hurt, and you're dealing with, major injuries, and there's not a lot of depth, but there's no reason that this offense should not be putting up 30 points a game. And so far we've seen nothing close. And you're playing a Jets team who, quite honestly, could have won this last week. I thought they had their moments. But this is a very, very winnable game. To me, you win this game at home. If you lose badly, I'm talking more than 2 touchdowns, I don't want to say this, but then you start questioning, is Mike McDaniel the guy where you're 0-4 and you just lost by 2 touchdowns at home to the Jets that may not have Justin Fields? So it's going to be a very interesting, next few days here as we lead up to Monday Night Football in prime time with the rivalry jerseys everybody's excited about. But, man, this team could wear whatever they want. If they play like they did the first 2 weeks, they're going to end up in the loss column.
Yeah, and to sort of follow up on that real quick, I think any loss versus the Jets, my take has been, and I think a lot of people's takes were, reasonable. People think, you're going to get fired. It's a matter of when, not if. Could he last the season? Sure, he could last the season. Could he get fired in November, October? Yeah. I think any loss versus the Jets, I don't care if it's by 1, any loss by the Jets, you can say anytime now, and I wouldn't be shocked. Totally. I thought the people who thought it was going to happen last week versus the Bills, unless they went up there and lost by 50, that was never going to happen week 3. But I think if you're 0-4, lose at home versus a team with the Jets who might have Tyrod Taylor, or even if they got Fields, he ain't any good either. Let's just be honest. You can then start to have the conversation. If you got rid of him now, it's understandable. No one thinks you're not being unfair. So I think any loss versus the Jets, it opens that door to be like, and it's not just him, the same thing for the general manager as well, although I do think he'll survive the year. Just because it's a front office thing. It's a little different than the actual coach on the sideline. But that's where I am with that. Tua, he's getting worse here. 2023 seems like a long time ago. And 2024 last year, he wasn't great. But even after he came back from the first head injury, he was okay. This year, though, it's just he had 2 opportunities versus the Patriots in the fourth quarter, threw a pick, and then they didn't score, game over. This game throws a pick, game's over. Did you hear the comments from Joe Rose on Friday?
I did not.
Okay, I have them. Well, I have them split up into 2 2-minute clips. I played them on a show over the weekend. I'm going to play here because I don't know if everyone heard that show. This is the first. Here's the first clip. Joe gets a paycheck from the team, and Joe's got the highest rated radio show down there, at least when it comes to sports. When he says something, people will listen. And here's the first clip.
I thought Mike's game plan, and the more I watched Tua, I realized Mike's game plan was really good. I'll explain. We can't throw the ball down the field. I don't know what happened to Tua. He threw another one of those whatever that thing is down the middle between 2 guys and came up. I don't know, looked more like a short punt than it did a pass. Missed some throws on deeper routes down the side. I thought Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I thought Tyreek Hill was really good. I mean, he can't throw it to himself. He had another ball that was thrown too far outside and too late because didn't have any zip on it because he doesn't have any zip to throw on it. And it's a problem. Everybody's covering, wondering. I come in here this morning. I just got off the plane and was able to get in here. And I wouldn't have missed this show for all the money in the world. Tua 22 of 34, 146 yards. Yeah. 22 completions, 146 yards, because everything we have to throw is short. And I give our guys credit. They actually caught some short passes, and Tyreek Hill, great effort, and Waddle getting separation, both of them, to move the chains. Didn't have big numbers. Didn't have Waddle, Tyreek Hill numbers that we're used to a couple years ago. 5 for 39 and 5 for 49 with some first downs in there. And you're going, Joe, geez. Tyreek Hill, fast man of football, less than 10 yards a catch. Yeah. Hey, man, all he can do is run his routes. Ran some great routes. Waddle ran some great routes as well. And sometimes if things look a little shaky up front, he can't get him the ball. He just can't do it. I don't know what's going on. I could have sworn a couple years ago when he was throwing deep passes and getting them out in front where Tyreek could run under him. I don't know. I don't see those kind of throws anymore.
Now, that was somewhat tame. The second clip, I think Joe takes the gloves off. It must have been, that must have been a long night flying home from Buffalo and then to be on the air at 6 a.m. Because the second clip, he pretty much says, Tua can't get the job done anymore.
But this goes back to you can't use your whole – now, some of it's the offensive line. Don't get me wrong. Some of it. But anybody that's just a cop-out, if you just come out and say, it's the offensive line, it's not Tua, then you're not watching the game. I don't know if he's beaten up from everything. I don't know what's going through the brain. He just doesn't have it. He just doesn't have it down the field. And I just figured out Mike's not going to make him throw stuff that he just can't do. And I think Mike's learning this thing that we just started talking about, like on deep throws, they might be short, so get ready to come back. It's kind of like years ago, they go, I'm going to throw it to the outside shoulder on the side. If you're well covered, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to throw the ball, and everybody's doing that. So I don't know if that's going to be a new thing where the quarterbacks, go to throw it to a guy 50, 40, or 50 yards down the field and going to come up 10 yards short or not, or it kind of flutters the way that thing did last night. Somebody would have had a shotgun. They would have had a nice dinner for that pass down the middle. And I just realized Chris must know. Mike must know. Tua can't make all the throws you need to make for what the weapons you have. You got too much horsepower for that guy to drive. He can't drive the car. It's got too much horsepower. He can't handle it. Can't handle it. I know everybody, Tua this and Tua that. Tua's our guy. Tua buying Tua jerseys. Not. I watched it. You're going against the guy, and I know I'm comparing it to the guy he's playing against last night, who didn't have his greatest game, but it was damn good, fun to watch. Watch him zip it around, take off, penalty against him, runs up the middle, comes up about a yard short, on a first or second down after a penalty, and just runs up the middle and slides with that broken nose, although he did take a couple of big hits. Hey,
So I ain't sure Joe's all that wrong. Are they calling this offense because they don't trust him throwing it down the field and being in attack mode? What are your thoughts?
I'd say it's twofold. One, the offensive line obviously plays a part in this. When Tua is successful, he's getting the ball out quicker than anybody else in the league. When you're doing that, it doesn't allow your receivers time to get downfield. So we've seen the two-shell coverage, but you've got to be able to throw that 15 to 20-yard out route. And he hit it a couple times against the Patriots. There's one play in particular, going back to Thursday night. It was in the second half. Tua ended up scrambling for a first down. So it was a positive play. He tucked to run, but the problem was he had Jalen Waddle wide open for a touchdown. There wasn't a defender within 10 yards of him in any direction. And the question that I have, which I really need to ask Tua, is how much is your injury history and what you've been told and conditioned to do to protect yourself affecting your play? Because on this particular play, Tua was running and he had his head down to protect himself. If his head was up, Jalen Waddle was wide open.
Let it fly. Yeah.
Anybody can make that. I'm not saying anybody, but I mean,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Wide open pass. And look, I mean, I do a show at Drew Rosenhaus. He's saying Tyreek's saying all the right things, but everybody can see on the sidelines. And if anybody watches the all 22 film,
You're frustrated.
there's so many times where Tua would anticipate him, and there's separation. Like Tyreek, and what Joe Rose said is correct. Like, you watch the film, like, these guys are running their routes and they're open, and it's just Tua is not pulling the trigger, and we need to find out why that is, because they're good. Like, it's not that Mike McDaniel's not setting them up for success, but the bigger question, if you want to come from a Mike McDaniel angle, is you practice all this stuff. Why isn't this translating to the field? Like, we've seen this translate, we've seen it work, but what's different? And it all goes back to Tua. And, it's just frustrating when, you watch, obviously, the elite quarterbacks in this game, Josh Allen, the Lamar Jacksons. These are mobile quarterbacks that are willing to tuck and run. You've even seen Caleb Williams kind of tuck and run. He had a huge game for the Bears, 4 touchdowns against the Cowboys this past weekend. When you have a quarterback that really can't run and is like not that mobile,
you're limited.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, you need to take shots like you've done in the past, but that's a dynamic of an offense that you need if you want to be successful. Look at Jalen Hurts. I mean, you're talking about the Super Bowl winners. Patrick Mahomes, even without his receivers, he's got the ability to tuck and run as a threat. And now we can just see these defenses. They know that they do not have to account for Tua taking off. So they can sit in man coverage and they can double team Tyreek. Now with Darren Waller, like, hopefully it'll open up the field a little bit, but the ability to take off and run, more so to hit your guys in stride. Like, you're throwing to spots. I don't know if it's Tua, it's got the kids, the dad, he got the cushy contract. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's, does he want to.
Can I tell you a theory that's out there? And again, I hate even talking about these theories, but sometimes you do hear one, you go, you know what? That actually could be true. Everyone talks about the head injuries and the head injuries. His last injury last year was to the hip versus Houston, which caused him to miss the final game or two. And we all know about the hip, what happened at Alabama. And if you watch him play, again, I'm not going to pretend to be a scout and know like footwork mechanics and stuff, but some people who do watch that stuff say he doesn't plant and throw like he used to, and they think the hip injury might still be lingering somehow, like healthy enough to play and be cleared, but still like an issue when it comes to strength and how you play the sport. Again, I don't know, and I even hate throwing it out there, but you know what? To see where he was last year, even like when he came back last year, I think it was versus Arizona. Like, even those games right after, like, he was pretty good. Like, Rams game, he played well, they won. Arizona game, they lost, but he played like he was playing well. And something happened from like that point on, and the only thing you can explain is, well, he had a hip injury, and we know about the hip injury. So I don't know if that's it. I mean, look,
could be.
You could ask Blue Face; they'll never admit it.
I think I'll ask him. I mean, it's a fair question. Look. Yeah. I mean, that was the whole thing with the Justin Herbert thing coming out of the draft, was that Tua had the major hip surgery, that he's never going to be the same. And he's admitted that he's never been the same since the hip injury. And now with last year.
He was re-aggravated. I mean, I don't know. But it's not an unfair thing to ponder or ask. Like, some of this stuff does get a little, out there in left field, playing like your tinfoil hat. But that one seems fair because we know he had the hip injuries before, and he's not the same guy clearly this year. Something's off. And I brought up this too when Joe's talking about he doesn't have the horsepower to drive this car. You think about it, when you talk about Hill, Waddle, and Achane alone, there is not a team there's not a team in the AFC, because I think Philadelphia can match it. Not the Ravens, not the Chiefs, not the Chargers,
you got
the Bills, who have 2 wide receivers like that and a running back like that. You look at the Bills, they might have the running back, they ain't got the wide receivers to match Hill and Waddle. The Ravens, Henry, he's a little bit older, and he's just mainly a guy who runs. He's not going to make plays. And they can't match that. Kansas City would die to have our weapons, and the Chargers don't have our weapons. Really, outside of the Eagles, there's not a team in the NFL that has those 3. Even Cincinnati don't have someone like Achane. And it's like he's got – look, I know the offensive line, and I know people love to point to that. But like he said, Joe, that's kind of a lazy take too. Because that offensive line is a great – no, is a perfect – no. But nobody's is. It's like and he's making enough money where you gotta overcome a little bit of it. Not everything. That's unfair. Right. But he doesn't overcome anything.
But like, what are you going to do if you have a weak offensive line? That's where you would roll the
fire the GM.
Out.
That's where I start. Yeah,
you're going to roll him out. Like Tua's not going to roll out. It puts more onus on this defense, and we've talked about the glaring holes in this secondary. And again, you've spent most of your money on the offense, and you've got to figure out how to put up 28 plus points a game. And right now with Tua, I just don't see it happening. I mean, even this Panthers game in a couple weeks, that looked like a patsy. And then all of a sudden here, they just put a whooping on the Falcons. And I'm like, shoot, we're going to Carolina. Like, I don't know how realistic a win there is.
If you look at their schedule, outside of the 2 games with the Jets, because I think they're about the same as us, and the game against the Saints, you can make a case we're not going to be favored in any of them. Now, I know Atlanta lost really bad yesterday, but they also went to the Vikings and won last week. Cleveland should be 2-1. They just beat the Packers, and week 1 they held Cincinnati with a healthy Burrow to 7 total yards in the second half.
Crazy, right?
The line's going to block Myles Garrett. Thoughts and prayers to our quarterback. That ain't happening. There is not an easy, and then that's not even counting the stretch of Ravens on a Thursday, then home against the Bills, then let's go to Spain and play Washington for good measure. Like, that's not even counting that stretch. Tampa Bay's going to destroy our secondary with their passing game. Cincinnati, then we have a backup quarterback, so all bets are off there. Who knows what's going to happen?
Burrow could be back.
He could be back, too. But the point is, outside of the Saints in the 2 games versus the Jets, I'm hard-pressed to see Miami winning any other game outside of that. Like, they could pull an upset. Sure, they could. Anybody can. But it's like the way they're playing.
Yeah.
With that secondary,
4 wins.
Good luck.
You're going 4-13.
And here's the kicker: if we actually win versus the Jets, we won't even get the top pick. We're going to be picking behind them. Watch them take the quarterback we want.
Yeah, I mean, luckily the quarterback draft class this year isn't much from what all the experts are saying. But then again, you find a Tom Brady in 6th round or whatever it was.
Norris Sellers goes 1, and if he's the guy, It's like, well, you're picking 2.
Yeah, I mean, you lose, Chris Greer, his dad was really the one with the Patriots that found Brady. He passed away earlier this week. So, it's, obviously sad when that happens. But
he was a very good scout for many years for Houston and the Patriots. I know he's been here as a consultant, but that was pretty much a job in retirement. But what he did with Houston and what he did with the Patriots, he also was strong and behind getting J.J. Watt picked in round 1 by Houston. So, look, if your resume is Tom Brady and J.J. Watt, that's a strong resume.
Down 2 Hall of Famers there.
That's pretty.
So,
that's
you're
good resume.
hoping that Chris got some magic, can find somebody. The question is, will he have that opportunity in April? And
he's had a lot of time to do that.
Yeah, from the fan perspective, I don't know if they necessarily want to give it to him. But, yeah, this Tua thing, it's almost been – I wasn't here when he was drafted yet. I was in Green Bay at the time. But, yeah, we talked about Herbert and him being tied together since that fateful day. And, we'll see what happens.
You want to know the funny story about that? I'll tell you a funny story. Mike Tannenbaum was here the year before. He was here for 3 years as VP of football operations, whatever the title was. I don't know. And Mike Tannenbaum, the year before, 2019 or 2018, they thought Herbert was going to leave after his junior year. Him and Greer went to, I don't want to say every Oregon game, but they went to a lot of Oregon games. They were scouting him big time. Then the following year, then Herbert stays. I think he has a brother who he was going to Oregon as well, so he wanted to play with his brother or something. So he stays for his senior year. And Tannenbaum and him, Tannenbaum was still here, I think, then. And they still scouted him heavily. And then he loses his job. I had Mike, night 1 of the drafts on a Thursday. I had Mike Tannenbaum on this podcast the Wednesday, the night before round 1. Now, he was already let go by the Dolphins. He was already long gone. He got let go in January. I go, Mike, I know you're not there anymore. I'm not asking you to say anything that you wouldn't say. So I go, if you were in charge of a team, you had those 2 options, Herbert or Tua. I go, who are you taking? And he goes, Mike, it's not even close. Give me Justin Herbert every day of the week. And I'm like, okay. And at the time, fans, oh, you don't know what he's talking about. You know what? If we would have kept him just for a few more months, he would have got that right.
Yeah, and it's tough. It's, you commit so much money to him, and to see him perform like this, and where you have Mike McDaniel, who's basically catered the offense to him, and he still can't execute. And just the film of the throws that he's missing are just egregious.
In the last throw, he's staring down the receiver like any halfway decent defender is going to jump the route and make the play. I mean, it wasn't like it was a tough play to make.
And McDaniel kind of called him out in the press conference. He's like, quarterback can't make that play. Like, that was a rarity from Mike McDaniel. So we're getting a sense. I don't know. Mike McDaniel looks like he's aged about 10 years since the start.
I feel so bad for him. Look, I'm not sure he's ever going to be a successful NFL head coach at the level that those guys want to be successful. I mean, obviously he
sure
has this job. He made the playoffs twice. There's some level of success, he said, but we know they want to win, like the East, they want to win some games in the playoffs and make a run. Like, I don't know if he'll ever be that. So I don't think he's the right man for this job. And I'm not sure if he'll be the right man for any head coaching job, honestly. But I feel so bad for him, though, because it looks like the guy never sleeps. I wish I could just go up to him like, Mike, just go to bed. You can work around the clock. You're not going to fix this. You don't have the roster to fix this. It's just not going to be fixed. Just go to bed, enjoy your family, relax, and just let go and let God at this point. Because you can stay up all night. You don't have the horses in the secondary. You don't have the quarterback. The offensive line's a mess again. It's like it's not getting fixed this year. Just go home and rest. It's just I feel awful for him, actually.
Yeah, it's just interesting where you're just like
because he won't go home and rest. He's going to work around the clock.
Right. And he has these looks on his face it's like, what do you want me to do? It's like,
and there's some of that too. It's not, I mean, look, I don't think he's very good, but part of it is you got to play the hand you're dealt. If that's your quarterback, totally. And if he can't make all the throws, well, then I got to call a game plan to mask that. Sure. And if I have this offensive line, I have to call a game plan to mask that and
insert Darren Waller. I mean, this is, you're paying this guy almost $5 million, the hip injury, but look, this is a big guy that can run. He was elite when he was in the league. We understand he took the year off, after all the personal issues with the divorce and all of that. We've well documented about his demons with drugs and all of that in the past. And, Frank Smith has been his guy. And it seems like he and Frank had been in communication for a long time. This was the plan once they knew that they weren't going to pay Jonnu. And here's your opportunity to get a weapon that's going to require some attention from the opposing defense, because right now in the first 3 weeks, the opposing defense is like, there hasn't been anything to the tight end. And
it's pretty much Hill, Waddle, and Achane. Yeah. Nick Westbrook and Kenny, I think, got 5 passes.
Yeah, like let Connor beat me. Like, go ahead.
Washington's played well too. Washington's played well at wide receiver and obviously as a returner. Washington's been good, but it's pretty much Hill, Waddle, Achane, who teams are going to catch on. We throw to him so much. Teams are eventually going to catch on. Like, he's going to throw to him all the time. So just put someone on him.
I like.
So you have to come up the counter.
Like Ollie was in the backfield and they had Achane in the slot. I like that.
I like that too.
We'll see. I think Ollie was a really good pickup. We'll see if Jalen Wright gets in the mix. But right now, I would stick with Gordon. I wouldn't even mess with Jalen Wright right now. Let him get healthier. But yeah, I mean, this is a Jets team that struggled.
He was their best draft pick this past year.
Yeah,
so far.
Amazing that he slipped that far. But yeah, you haven't really called, Grant's name, who was your first round pick. Jonah's in a tough situation playing on
and
the
they
left
won't move
side.
him to the right side. Which look, I'm not sure if that's going to work. But there does come a point like, what do you got to lose? Try it.
Well, I think it's more of, the guy that we have over there is at least comfortable on the right side. We move Jonah over there. We have no one that's comfortable on the left side. So
wait for Liam to come back.
God help us.
He did say on Monday
it's going to be weeks. Yeah, so I would expect. I mean, it seems like he had a major injury. Like we don't know what it is. It's undisclosed, but he's missed a lot of time. And
it's a leg injury of some sort, because I think people have said they've seen him in like a sleeve on his leg or something.
Yeah, so we don't know.
I think it's a leg injury.
Quad. We don't know.
But I think he also said
in the second round.
Yeah. I also think he said, though, this might have been last week, Mike McDaniel said it, that James should be back after the 4 games missed. So he shouldn't go much beyond 4 games for James Daniels. So once he comes back, then it's probably not going to make sense for. And look, if they want him to play on the left side, you're gonna have to learn it. And this might be the only way you learn it, I guess. But who knows? Who knows? It's just frustrating because again, you trade all those picks to move up, and it's not like we couldn't use those extra picks. And again, I'm not saying he's a bust. I know it's only 3 games. I'm not saying it's a bust, but you'd like to see returns more than this, where you don't want the headline to read for the 2nd week in a row he's the lowest rated guy on PFF.
Yeah, and then I would say that I was expecting a lot more from Chop Robinson. So far, Bradley Chubb's been the only guy to get
Best
through.
player.
Chop's been hurt. We knew he had the great season last year, but it's, I want to see him and Jalen Phillips break through. Zach Sealer, I love him to death. He got the big contract, captain. It's just you haven't seen him show up on the stat sheet, and it's been kind of interesting. Like this, they're almost playing like their top defensive tackles with their 2nd unit of pass rushers on the
Matthew
outside.
Judon's on the field a lot more than I thought he would be.
Yeah, and on special teams, which is wild.
Wild to me too. I know.
But
he
yeah,
never played it before in his life.
Yeah, you're playing Sealer with Judon and Chop, and then you've got Phillips with Chubb. You're kind of rotating, who you got in there. It's interesting. I think it seems like it's more of a pitch count type situation. A team,
Probably.
B team. But
I think Chop should be out there more. I mean, look, he was a 1st-round pick. He's younger. I think he should be out there. I think he should be out there all the time, and then rotate the other guys for obvious reasons.
Exactly.
But I keep Chop out there all the time, or as much as humanly possible, at least. Jalen Phillips has come close a few times, but he can't wrap the guys up. He's got his hands on a few guys. He just can't bring them down, which I know part of it is those guys are afraid because I'll come the flag if you do it the wrong way, which I get. But you know what? Just hit
But
him.
I mean, this is why Micah Parsons makes the money that he makes. It's he's the difference maker that can, go from putting the hand on the quarterback to bringing him down. And Jalen Phillips is, hopefully going to be that guy. It's a contract year for him. So yeah, I really feel, and I'm not optimistic about this team at all, but I really feel that they should be able to put this together Monday night against the Jets.
I think the Jets right now are such a hot. They're kind of now. Look, they almost won Sunday versus Tampa. It was a crazy game. They had the block field goal run. It was nuts, but that's kind of like a fluky thing too. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Either way, I wouldn't be too nervous. But again, as I said prior to the season, every quarterback we play, even if it's bad, they're going to have their best day against us because our secondary. Look at Jones. I mean, everyone's going to have their best day versus us. So you have to factor that in. But I just do think Miami, if they can't beat the Jets at home, we're looking at a historically bad year. We're talking like 2007 levels, like 1-win type year. I mean, if you can't beat this team at home in September, then again, outside that Saints game, I don't know where you're going to win. I just don't. I don't know where you're going to win. So it's just like, we'll see what happens. I know it's very sad because there was the Ian Rappaport report Thursday before the game saying Ross is going to show patience. You want to see if they can turn it around. And again, I get it because
I'm taking this off. This is too formal.
Go for it.
I can't listen to this. It's making me sweat.
I mean, it's like if you fire him week 3 or fire him week 9, like who cares? Like, what's the point? Like, it's not going to change anything in season. But he did say at the end of that report, if fans don't show up and if those guys on the field, don't play hard, I guess, that would alter his decision. So it's going to be interesting how that looks on Monday night, how many fans there for the Jets, because we know Jets always have a ton of fans in that stadium. How many people show up in general and how many empty seats there are, I think is going to be something else to watch. I'm sure someone's going to fly a banner again just because why not? That's what the fans seem to want to do. But that doesn't even mean anything. It's just let's see how the
$75.
Yeah, let's see the fans' displeasure Monday. If they come out and say, okay, they played hard, we'll cheer them for a little bit. Or if they just come out from the start and just boom out of the building, that matters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you get down 14-0 to the Jets at home on a primetime night in New Jersey's and all the hoopla. And
the stadium will be empty at halftime.
Yeah, let's just hope for good weather. But yeah, I mean, I love Aaron Glenn. I love his messaging. But look, you have the better roster, and you've had extra time off. I'm not saying this is a must-win, but this is a must-win. It's about as close to a must-win.
It's a must-win for the coach. Because I think if they don't win this one,
but we'll see what Tua can do.
It comes down to Tua. So, yeah, all right. That's all for today's show.
Yeah.
Be sure to follow Josh on social media at The Mo's Knows. Check him out on WSVN 7, South Florida's #1 news station. Check out our website at DolphinsTalk.com. Follow me on social media on all the platforms at DolphinsTalk. Always appreciate you people listening. Even when the season's bad, we do appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. We'll get through it together. We'll have some laughs along the way, because if you're not laughing, you're crying. And everyone have a great night. We'll talk to you again after a while. Yes, please. You know what? Since this season's going bad, I gotta hit the signature ending. No matter how bad it gets, when you're out there on the streets driving to work or driving home, don't take it out on fellow drivers. We still must put an end to highway profanity.